Okay, so I lost the footage for the rest of the feet and the rigging and testing process. I had an accident with my laptop, and so I lost that footage. But I'll try to catch you up to speed so that we can figure out how exactly we got here to a functional rigged up character, basically. Okay, so let's see, how do we do this? How do we do this? Okay, let's duplicate this. I'm going to use I'm going to use Abigail 2 to create this. So let's go ahead and let me explain this real quick. All right. So right after drawing, you already know how to draw stuff. So uh, it's kind of like straightforward how the legs were drawn. Um, Let me just open one up real quick and show you. Look at this. Um, they're split into A and B. A has from here down to here. B has just this part. All right. So in essence, we have this. All right. Let's. All right. There we go. And the foot down here. So let's quickly go through how to create the skeleton, basically. A couple of bones. I like to call them skeletons, but bones. You get the gist. So after creating a folder like this called Abigail, this was initially a folder. So we right click on this and put convert to bone. That's how we have this bone icon right here to show that this has the ability to carry bones and the effects that follow. All right, so that's how we got this. And then after getting this one, I explained something about creation of bones. So I think what I'm going to do right now is um, I'm going to redo that process again so that you can see how I did it. Okay, so let's take all these bones and go ahead and delete them. I feel so bad. Okay, so now that they are deleted, good. Now that they're deleted, we're going to go ahead and run the process again. So I explained that we're going to use our add bone tool. Bones function by what we call parents, right? So there's the bone of all bones. I like to draw mine right here, depending on the character. So what it does is this bone controls, kind of influences every other bone um, on the character. So if this bone is pulled, the entire character would follow. That's what it means. Okay. So sorry, just did something there. So we're going to make sure that this is still selected, showing red, and build from there to the tip of every part of the body. So torso, tip of the head. While the head is selected, we want to create a bone because we want each part of the head to move separately. So we'll take our bone selection tool, select this, and create another one here. So this is what bone parenting looks like. Here's our bone reparent tool. So this bone points with an arrow to this bone. This bone points with an arrow to this bone. So what this means is they are both saying that this particular bone has influence over them. And so this bone is pointing to this one, saying that this one has influence over this one. And this one points to this one, saying this has influence over this one. Now here's what the influence looks like. If this bone moves, this two staying in position follow this. All right? And if this bone moves, everything on top of that moves. And ultimately, if this one moves, everything about the bone moves. Don't worry about this malfunction. We haven't done binding yet. So the bones are not gonna function properly until we do so. All right, so don't trip. Okay, so let's finish building up the skeleton following the same parenting principle so that we don't have issues. Okay, so from the torso, what we need is hands here and there. So we're going to quickly make that from the shoulder this way and here. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing. Select the torso again. If we don't select the torso and we start building from here, it means that when we move this, the second arm will start to move, and that's just weird, right? That's not how human anatomy works. So we're going to pick our add bone tool while selected here and piece this as well. All right. Sorry. All right. Beautiful. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and do the legs. So we're just going to select this and build our legs swiftly like so. Two. Let's make, we're going to select this again. Make the second leg. All right. Bullseye. So we have our skeleton. This is how we got the initial structure back then. So right now nothing's going to function. By the way, these surface areas, these shades, they are called bone strengths. It shows the area of influence that the bone has over the design itself. Now, I'm not talking about the bone's influence on one another, but the bone's influence on the design. Check this out, it's all messed up. You try to move one, and then it's moving all sorts of places, bending and warping. We don't really need that right now, so there's a lot of fixing to do. You can see, look at that, it's just all messed up. So we're going to take all of that out. Control A to select all the bones, right? Then take your bone strength tool and reduce that from 1 right here all the way to 0, right? You can type that right here, or you can just click and drag like I did. Okay, so we deselect and we get straight to business. Sorry, one sec. Okay, we deselect and we get straight to business. Let's start binding. Let's come close like this. So let's run from the top of our layer down to the last, right? So we just do it step by step. We're in H1 right now. H1 is hand number 1. Remember how we named it? So let's go down here and give this a good binding. There are 2 ways to bind, right? You can either bind by layer or bind by point. Right now we're going to bind by point because the entire arm is in 1 layer and we have a couple bones to work with. That's this bone, and this bone, right? So let's bind with points. Okay, so we're going to start with this bone. We'll select this bone, then take this right here, bind points. We'll select the points that we want to bind to that bone, and we'll click over here, bind points. You see how the points have just gone big to show that they belong to this bone now, like they increased in size. Look at this compared to this one. All right, so we have that here. We're going to repeat the same process for the rest of the bones, and then we'll test it out. So let's select this bone, take this tool like we did before. We're going to take this particular points and the points at the wrist. Why? Because the wrist is not the same as the hand, the fist, or the palm, right? So we're going to take this 4, click and drag, or you hold down the control key and move through like so to pick the points that you want. All right, just make sure you select them properly and bind. All right, now we do this one more time for the last bone. That's this one. Select the bind points tool, select what's left of it, and bind points. Now we're going to test this using this manipulate bones, right? So we're going to move this to see how well we've done. Look at that. That's looking good already. Look at that. All right. All right, so that's a functional arm. We don't need anything complex right now. In other courses that I'm going to make, I'm going to show you um, different ways to get outcomes that you want, different ways to get uh, different art styles to function the way you want them to, basically. Uh, so let's move on. Um, I'm going to do binding because I've done this before. I'm going to just do the binding for hair, okay? So here we can do binding by layers. The last one we did now was by points. We're going to do by layers here because um, this is the only thing in the layer, right? This big ball of hair is the only thing in the layer. So we'll just select the bone that we want, which is this, and take our bind layer, uh, place it right here. All right. So what this means is wherever this bone moves to, whatever's on this layer follows it, which is in this case the ball of hair. So we'll move to hair base. We're going to pin this to the bone for the head, because wherever the head goes, this goes. This doesn't really move like that, so well, we'll keep it that way. The mouth doesn't move so much. We'll pin that to the head bone. The eyes do the same thing, pin that down. The head do the same thing, pin that down. And then the third hair number 3, that's this one, we pin it this way. Okay, let's test that real quick. Take our bone manipulate tool. Check this out. Right, right. Let me zoom out so you can see what this is like. All right. So the hair can like dangle and all that. Mm. Actually, I want to try something. There's something I did in one of my videos. There's something I did in one of my videos. I want to confirm very quickly because it's been a while. Let's see. What if we reduced the bone to be this way? This can affect how um this can affect how the hair turns. So we're going to test that very quickly. All right. So it's not really much of a dangle. It's more like a tire. Okay. So I don't want that. I'm going to reduce that a bit. Stretch this out. Let's do the same thing for the other one. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Um I'm guessing this fixes that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, this is going to give me the kind of hair shake that I am looking for. So that being done, let's go ahead and do we just finished with the hair on the head, so we're closing the head now. We're going to the body. Um we need to, when doing this kind of thing, when you're running this kind of process, you need to study the anatomy of whatever you're rigging. That tells you what point should go to which bone. The truth is, you might not get it on the first try, and that's okay, right? Most of the times, it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of trial and error to really figure out which one goes where. I did that a lot myself, so let's go through that process together. We're on the body now. Let's pick our first bone. Let me show you something real quick. Look at how the head moves right now. Sorry, sorry. Yeah. Look at how the head moves right now. See this sharp edge, like there's no neck and there's just a weird space. We want to take that out. So while selecting this, we're going to pick our points. This two, to be specific. Sorry. All right, this two. See, they're selected, and I'm going to put bind points. Now check this out. All right, so the body follows the turn of the head, and we don't have that weird edge and all that stuff. Okay, so that's beautiful. Now let's move down. We want to pin all of this to this bone. Okay, so we're going to select this and pin them this way. All right, let's bind that. So wherever the body bends to, you see that. You see that it's already looking beautiful. And you notice, like I said about the parenting, see how the hand obeys the body, because that's how human anatomy works. All right, so that functions like this. Okay, Okay, and that makes so much sense because where your torso goes, your arms follow. All right, good. So we're making good progress, and that's nice. Let's do the down part of the dress. Okay, now this is not such a complex rig. This is a very simple one, so we're not going to put much detail for the dress. I just want to pin all of this down so it doesn't move. So I'm going to select the almighty bone, the bone of all bones, right, and take out these 3 points and bind them real quick. So these points never move, they just move when the entire character moves, and that's fine with me. I want it that way. I want it that. Sorry. I'm supposed to be pissed because I lost some footage and I had to redo this section of the entire tutorial again, but okay, I think I'm catching my mojo back. Alright, so let's move on. Let's move on. I did a lot of work here. Okay, I did a whole lot of work here. Before we do this, let me do something real quick that I did to the hair. You'll see the effect of what I'm about to do when we start animating. So we're just going to go ahead and select these guys. Hold shift to select both of them. Hold shift and click, basically. So now that we've selected them, you know what? Let's do this way. We'll open these details right here, bone constraints. We don't want to give them constraints, but we want to apply some bone dynamics in angle. um, I think we don't need position and scale. We'll just do angle. Leave the settings this way. It's fine. We'll test them out in animation, and if we don't like the outcome, we would we'll change it and find out what works for us. All right, so let's close this uh to ensure that what we did affected both bones. Okay, yeah, they did. Beautiful. So let's go down to the leg. We got a lot of work to do here, people. So while working the last time before I lost my footage, so painful. Well, so while working, I found a flaw in our design. Check this out. So we're going to test. Hold on. We're going to test uh, the rig. We'll hold on. Sorry, I want the joints to be closer to the sock than I did before. So it looks cute when she bends her knee. Anyways, all right. So we're good to go now, eh? Or are we? Hold on. All right. Sorry. All right, good. Awesome. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and bind. I'm going to use this leg to explain what I want to do. Let's go ahead, click here. All right, we're going to give it constraints. I'll show you why real soon. Okay, you know what? Let's find out why, and then we'll now do all of that. So let's bind. This is L1 according to what we named. So let's go there. A. Check this out. We're going to bind. Remember, we've already bound this one to this part, right? This part shouldn't move around. It should stay fixed. Okay. So we're just going to select this bone and get us some good points. Okay. Let's see. I just want this two to be influenced. None other. Just those two. Okay. So we're going to bind those points, right? Select the next bone. Remember, I'm doing this easily because I have experience on it. So you're going to have to build experience on it as well. You would have a lot of trial and error. Again, that's okay. Go through the process. It gives you a good understanding of how these things work. All right, so let's bind these ones here. All right, then we get to this part and we can just use a layer bind. I'm tired. Let's use a layer bind right here. Right now, let's test out what we've done. Now, normally like we've done around the body of the character. What we did here should work, because that's what we did in all these places, and so far the outcome is beautiful. So what's up with here? Here's what happens when we do all that we've done, right? Here's what we get. This place functions fine, but the problem is here, right? Look at that. I don't want to have this. This what the hell is this? Look at the leg. Look at the legs. It's ugh. Like what is that? We need to fix this, right? So how we're gonna do this is we're going to make this particular bone a smart bone. Okay, so we're going to make this particular bone a smart bone so we can better control that weird deformation that was happening there. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Save. All right. Okay, beautiful. So let's start by giving this bone constraints. Let's go back to the main folder, Abigail. All right, let's give these constraints, right? Turn this on, minus 70 plus 70. Let's use that. So look at what the constraints are like, right? What this means is that this bone will not be able to turn past this point or this point, right? And watch what we're going to do with it. Now that we have our constraints, we are going to make this bone special. We're going to make it a smart bone. Now, every bone has a name, right? I didn't mention this before, but I'm mentioning it now. Every bone has a name. This particular bone is B13. Look at it right here. B13. So if you select any bone, the name shows up. B8 rather, forgive me, B8. This is B7. Default names B1. All right, this was the first bone we made, so that's B1. Okay, so this particular bone is B13. I want to rename this bone because I want to see, I want to be efficient in identifying stuff when things get a bit complicated. So let's select this and call this L1, right? That's what we're going to call this bone. So here's what we're going to do next. Um, Press Ctrl K on your keyboard to give you this. Oh, I didn't clear this for this. Oof, oof, there's a problem. Let's change the name of this bone to E1. All right, that's better. So I don't destroy whatever it is I've made here for the previous character, the first Abigail. Okay, so we're just going to create an action line for this bone. The name's E1. So we're going to select here and say new. This is for making new action lines, and you can see it's already written E1. That's to say the app is aware of what you're doing. If you weren't selected on this bone or at the toppest layer, it would write action name here, meaning you're making a mistake, right? Whatever you're trying to do, it's not going to work. You need to be selected here and here for this to work. Okay, so let's go ahead and click OK, and it will create this for us. So what we're going to do now is we have created a sub animation layer. Let's go ahead and pull this out. I'm sure yours was already out. I just hid mine for more space to handle my designing. So let's go ahead and create an inside animation. Here's how we do it. Take this transform bone tool. I usually work with 100 frames. That's around here, right? Or you can just type 100 right here to be sure. So this is 100. So I'm going to take half of this, which is 50, all the way here. All right, and Control F to keyframe. What a keyframe does basically is to say at this point in time, everything should be the way it is right now. Okay, so it doesn't matter what's happening here or what's happening here. Once the time stops, reaches this point, everything should be as is, okay? Or however you set it to be, basically. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to move this all the way to frame one and move our bone like so. I know. Um, sorry, that was bad. Frame one. Please don't make this mistake. I was on zero, so that was weird. Frame one, okay? And move it like so. Beautiful. This is what's supposed to happen. So the leg, we're not going to move the leg this way, right? We just want to have that registered in the app. So we're going to move this. See that the leg already knows what to do here. So we need to do it the other way until 100, right? So we're going to move this all the way here. This is what we want to fix, all right? As on a ball. Let's keep moving. So now we have the full animation of the bone. We're going to go straight ahead and animate the points because that's where the work needs to be done. So we're moving to this particular layer. Let's zoom in just a little bit. Good. So now we're going to keyframe this first of all because this position is perfect. It's the bend that we want to fix. So we can leave this here. We don't really need anything to change here. We're not going to bend the bone this way. That's not how legs move. Uh, so we're just going to move this to 100. All right, to 100. Good. So at 100, we need to fix this. Let's go ahead and deselect. Go straight up like so, and fix all of this. Let's say this should look like this. I should say we shouldn't touch this point or this point because they don't belong to this bone. We don't want things to get complicated, okay? So let's go ahead and take this bone. Let's see. Take this. All right. Move it this way. Just a little bit lower. Move this down. Okay. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, there we go. We're not supposed to touch that, remember? Okay, then move this down a little bit. So I think this looks beautiful. This looks like a decent leg bend. Let's edit this part just a little bit. All right, perfect. So let's preview this from this position. Let's bend this and see the process. All right, that went on pretty smoothly. You see that stuff ain't there no more. We have a good bend, so we're just going to close this. Go back here, go back to main line, and we have a good bend on our feet. So that's what I did to successfully. Can you see that? You can always go ahead and render, um, preview what you've done to make sure it looks good on final screen so you don't get surprised. So Control R. Yeah, this is pretty decent. I love it. I love it. So repeat the same process for this leg, editing when the bone goes this way, okay? Yeah, so that does it. This same kind of binding works for this arm. So when you do all that, we will be up to speed. So I'm just going to hide this one and get back to this one that I did while I lost that file. Oof. Every time I say it, I feel a sting at my back. Anyways, when you do all of that, you might want to move your figure or your character around a couple positions just to test and make sure everything's fine. When you test each position, you would want sorry. When you test each position, you would want to render and make sure that looks good in final stuff. So let's go ahead and hold on. Okay, so let's test this, for example. Yeah, so what we're checking for here is to make sure that everything comes out smoothly. We don't have weird bends and folds, right? We don't have all that weird stuff going on here. We just want to make sure that everything is okay. So this looks good. This looks okay. Character is good. So we would move on to animation. Okay.